Philippians 4:7 and the peace of God with servants all understand will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Hello, welcome to episode 5 to 6. My name is Marco Antonio, and we are in the reading of Human All to Human by Friedrich Nietzsche. We stop at proposition 17. Okay, but both sides overlook the possibility that painting that with to us men means likes and experience has gradually evolved. Indeed, is still evolving, and therefore should not be considered unfinished. Content on with basis and conclusion about the creator, the sufficient reason may be made or even rejected, because for thousands of years we had been looking at the work with moral, aesthetic, and religious claims. We blind inclination, passion, or fear, and how involve ourselves fully in the back habits of illogical self. This world has gradually become so strangely colorful, wonderful, profound, soulful. It has a color, but we had be the patterns. The human intellect allowed appearance to appear and project his mystic conception onto the sick. Only very late does the intellect stop to seek. Now the word of inspiring and the thinking in self is so extraordinarily different and separate that is reject any conclusion about the latter from the former, or else in a full mysterious way in demons and the abandonment of our intellect, of our personal wit, and of order to come to the essential by becoming essential. On the other hand, other people have gathered together all characteristic trick of our work of appearances, that is our inherent idea of the world span out of intellectual errors and instinct of abusing intellectual just account the essence of thing for causing this real very and character of the work and can preach salvation from being. Okay. This day and arduous progress of saints We will ultimately celebrating great traumatic autonomy of self within decisively with all the views. Its conclusion might perhaps end up with this tenet that what we now call the work is the reason of a number of error and fantasy with we can about gradually in the overlook development of organic being fusing with one another and now heading down those as a collective treasure of our entire past, a treasure for the value of our humanity rests upon it. From this work of idea, strict science can in fact release us only to a small instinct something we by no means desire in that this is unable to break significantly the power of ancient habit of feel it, but it can illuminate Kawaii gradually, step by step, the story of the origin of the work as idea, and leads us for moments and leads out the house process. Perhaps we will recognize that the thinking the self deserve the Omric love. If that is similar to be so much ending everything in actually MP that is empty of meaning. Metaphysical explanation a young person's appreciates metaphysical explanation because they show who he think something highly meaningful is master he found unpleasant or discombolish his dissatisfied with his feeling is reeling if he can recognize in language his own disapproval of it helps the inner mold riddle of the work or the is misery to feel is irresponsible and the same time to find it more interesting. That is the twofold benefit we use to metaphysics. Metaphysics later, of course, he has to distract the joy method of metaphysical explanation. Perhaps we understand that those effects are to be obtained as well and more scientifically in another way we understand that physical and historical implementation bring about and listen much that feeling of irresponsibility and that his interest in life and his problem is kindle perhaps even more thereby. Basic question of metaphysics. Sorry, what this ontogeny of self written the following sentence by an excellent logician building in a new light. The original general law of the knowing subject concept in the inner necessity of knowing. So sorry. It object it ibsen. It is owing as an object identical with itself, that self existing and fundamentally of ways the same and unchangeable. It sure as an subject. This law to with is year of original Oslo involves sign the gradual origin of this tendency lawyer organs. We shown how the does molds eyes of this organization of fair see everything as identical. How then when the various stimuli of pleasure and pleasure become more noticeable, different substances and gradually distinguish but each one with what attribute, that is, with one single relationship to such organisms. The first thing of logik is Hartmann, whose essence as the base logic have details in belief is based on the feeling of pleasure or pain in relation to the feeling something and user feeling as the result of two precedent feeling is Hartmann. It is lowest for initially we organized beings have no interest in seeing other than in its relationship to us with regard to pleasure and pain. Between those moments between those moments in which we become aware of this relationship, that is the state of sensation, like this state of of non-sensation. Then we find the word and embrace it in without interest. We notice no changing in us even now. A person who is intensely interested in it something, we now notice that someone is passing by him. To a plants, all things are normally quaint, eternal, everything identical to itself. From the periods of life of low organism, man has inherited the feeling that there has identical things. Only experience which has been educated by the highest science contradict this tenet from the beginning. The first feeling of all organic beings may be that the whole rest of the word is one unknown. It downfits state of longing and the soak of causalities is Friedrich remote. Even now, we believe fundamentally that of feeling and anchors are of free will, we feeling individual considered himself. He takes each feeling change to be something isolated, that is unconditioned without constants. It rises out of us. We know connection to anything earlier or later. We are hungry but do not think initially that is organism what to we can allow it, rather that feel it seems to assert itself without reason or purpose. It isolates itself after itself to be arbitrary. Thus the belief in freedom of the will is an initial error of all organic beings, as all the insisting in the of aesthetic of logic building in condition savantes of identical sense is likewise an whole original error of all that is organic to the instinct that full metaphysic has indeed primarily with substance and freedom of the will. However, what may characterize it as that times with this we perceive errors of man, but as if they were basic truths. Okay. The laws of number were invented on the basis of the initially prevailing error that are various identical things, but actually there is nothing identical or omelette, that there are things but there is no things. The assumption of multiplicity always presumes that there is something which or repeatedly, but is this hardware error rules. Even here we invent entities, unities that do not exist. Our feeling of space and time are false for it, or for if they are tested rigorously, they lead to logical contradiction. Whenever we establish something scientifically, we are inevitably always reckoning with some incorrect quantities. But because these quantities are as constant as is, For example, our field of time and space, the reserve of science, do admire a perfect strangeness and certainty in their relationship to each other, what can continue to build upon them after that final analysis where the mistaken basic assumption those constant error can into contradiction with the result. For example, in atomic theory, there we still feel ourselves for to assume a thing or a material that is more wise the entire scientific procedure has a person the tank of disability anything like material into moments here to our feeling distinguished that is moved from that which is moved and we do not come out of the circle because the feeling sick has with time with our essential in nature from the immemorial when can say reason does not create its law from nature but a distance then to where this is perfectly true in respect to the concept of nature we are obliged to apply to her nature work as idea that is as error but with is a summation of a number of error of a reason to work that is now our idea. The laws of number are completely inapplicable. They are valid only in human work at a few runs down what level of education itself very high one has been reached when man begins super serious and religious concept and free and fears and for example no longer believed in the heavenly angels or original thing and has start talking about the soul of salvation what not what he is at this level of liberation he must still make a last intense effort to overcome metaphysical then however a retrograde moment is necessary. He must understand both the historical and the psychological justification in metaphysical ideas. He must recognize who mankind's greatest advancements came from them and how if we have deep now think this retrograde state one due to rob Hilsen of mankind finest accomplishment today we regard to philosophical metaphysics. I now see a number of people who have arrived at the negative goal but only a few who claim, but though a few ranch for one should look out over the last range of the ladder, but now one to stand on in those who are most elated can go only as far as to free themselves of metaphysical and look back on in with superiority. Why here, as in the hydrome, it is necessary to the attack and the hem of the track. Presumed triumph of skepticism left absent for the moment the skeptical starting point, assuming there were no other metaphysical work that we could not use any metaphysical explanation of the only work known to us. How would we then look upon men and think? One can imagine this. It is useful to do so, even if one were to reject the question of whether can James Schopenhauer prove anything metaphysical scientifically, for according to historical probability it is quite likely that men at some time will become skeptical about this whole subject. So what must as the question, how will human society take under this influence of science and attitude? Question. Perhaps the scientific proof of any metaphysical work is difficult, so difficult that mankind can no get from destructive, and if what is the strength of metaphysics that then we have generally speaking the same consequences as metaphysics have been directly refuted, and one where no lawyer permitted to willing in the historical question about mankind and metaphysical views remains the same in either case. Okay, see you tomorrow. Take good care for yourself. Get to know yourself internally. Have a lot of faith, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Goodbye.